Hello, this is Alpha Omega. I'm going to be covering the Archon. Alright, going into the build, you'll be doing 51 points in Archon, 9 points in Dominator, and 6 points in Pyromancer. In Dominator, you'll be going 3 of 3 in the clinging form. You have an option. You can do 2 of 2 or 2 of 5 in efficient control, or 2 of 2 into quick thinking. I chose quick thinking because I like to use squirrel a lot whenever possible. For the majority of you, it would be more efficient to put it into efficient control. After you've spent those 2 points in one of those, you'll put 4 of 5 into Acumen, totaling up to 9 points into Dominator. Pyromancer, you'll be going 5 of 5 in Ignition, and straight up from that, 1 of 3 into Improved Grounding. That should give you all 66 points spent. Alright. Essentially with this build, all you're doing is trying to maintain buffs. Remembering that you're not there for yourself. You're there for the team. So your numbers are not going to be the highest. A lot of people get a little butthurt about this. Don't worry about that. In this guild, we worry about, total DPS, not self DPS. Don't forget that. Alright. Your buffs will be as follows: Burning Purpose, Tempered Armor, Shared Vigor, Arcane Aegis, and Vitality of Stone. You will be keeping those up as often as you can. Make sure those do not come down. On yourself, you will be using Fire Armor. Alright, going into the rotation, you will be doing Ground of Power. Looks like this. Alright, remember to keep these buffs up at all times. Alright, and that is how you start every fight. Alright, if it is we'll use Moonshade Highlands for example, where they got the golems. They have the little doors right there around them. If it was a golem, being that they're way stronger than the enemies around them and it takes a lot longer to drop them, you'll use the debuffs. Reason I say for the strong type characters only is because it's inefficient to use on everybody. It would be much more efficient to just DPS them down. This helps you keep them DPS'd around the same level, around the same speed, without losing too much. After that, after you've kept your buffs up, put your debuffs on, you're in your ground of power, you spam your macro. I will be going over the macro as soon as I finish the whole spec. So I'll just be sitting there spamming that while we fight. You can watch a couple numbers. You'll see that I'm not doing too bad a DPS. If I throw on my fire armor, it gets even better. Alright. That being said, you have some situational abilities. Obviously you have your squirrel, as I mentioned earlier. You also have Lava Field. Lava Field is an AoE. The unique thing about Lava Field is, obviously it does an AoE and does damage to enemies, but if there are allies within that Lava Field, it helps heal them. If you read the tooltip, it says, increases the effect of the next healing spell to land on them by 3% per stack, max of 5 stacks. So if you know there's going to be a large burst in DPS on a lot of people, you can help your healers out by throwing down your AoE right there. Okay, next situational would be your Reflective Command. Same thing, except it would be straight at your tank. If you know there's going to be some DPS thrown out, you throw down your Reflective Command, next attack attacks the attacker instead of your tank. And then you have Consuming Flames. That's kind of a shield. It does approximately 1,005 damage before it gets taken off. Alright, if you have a not so good tank or a cleric tank, not knocking on you cleric tanks, but they're not able to keep aggro as easily. Right? Instead of putting that fire armor on yourself and getting that extra DPS, you're going to put a charged shield on the tank. It counts as an armor on you. That's why you can't have them both on at the same time. What happens is whenever the tank or whoever you have charged shield on gets attacked, it does a little bit of extra DPS. Does on mine 27 damage to attackers that damage the ally. That keep aggro. Alright, you have Mental Flare. Mental Flare, people will love you for this because it helps you and all mana casters get mana back. You can cast it on anybody that's needing mana. Especially helpful to those healers. You have Leeching Flames. I'm not going to go too in depth with this. It's in your macro. Pretty much all it does is, engulfs the enemy in some flames that, does 10% of the mage's maximum mana and damage, and gives that back to you over, a certain amount of time. Mana Wrench. Pretty much all you do is it's a channeled spell that gives you mana. You shouldn't ever need to use this. And then I have my, Glove of Crystallized Blood. This is just kind of hanging around here, so in case I need to just cast that right away. That's my Pillaging Stone. It does two things. It's your main damage spell, and it also puts on a buff to you. Or let me see. No, it decreases enemies' dexterity, wisdom, and intellect and strength, and increases yours. So it's a pretty damn good buff. Alright, going into the macro. Macro is as this. It has number show Pillaging Stone. That way it always has Pillaging Stone on there, because that's your main cast for DPS. Then it goes cast Waning Power, cast Volcanic Bomb, cast Flowing Sand, cast Earthen Barrage, cast Surging Flare, cast Leeching Flames, cast Flaring Power, and cast Pillaging Stone. And that should be everything. So to recap, before every fight we throw on these buffs. As soon as combat starts, we try to throw down our Ground of Power. Not necessary, but definitely helps. If they're a tough enemy, we throw down our debuffs. And then we just spam the hell out of our fucking macro. If you watch, you get some decent numbers. Normally. Obviously it's not working for me right now. Okay, there's 1,000. That's the thing with crits and damage. It's not 100% steady, but it stays up there near 1,000, oftentimes with Pillaging Stone around this level. So, like I said, that's your main thing, but, see there's a Surging Flare for 15. Remember, like I said, you're not going for raw DPS, it's to give, your allies raw DPS. And getting these numbers is still pretty good, considering, all the debuffs you just gave yourself, putting up these buffs. A lot of people don't know that, but Archon actually debuffs themselves to buff their allies. So if we're putting up numbers greater than you are, you're doing something wrong, guys. If there's any questions, direct them to Alpha Omega. Alpha Omega out.